Ad Yack.
You're listening to Ad Yack. Ad Yack is the official podcast of the AAF Greater Lehigh Valley Ad Club. Our mission is to inspire creativity and enhance the professional development of the advertising and marketing communities where we live and work. I'm your host, Bill Childs, and I'll talk with artists, designers, writers, directors, photographers, along with those who work in a creative capacity. Our aim here is to serve as a creative resource to help you stay informed, entertained, and above all, inspired. But first, I want to thank ASR Media. We appreciate your support and collaboration. Today on the podcast, I have the pleasure of speaking with SAG-AFTRA actor and all-around incredible human being, Mr. Roy Shuler. I first met Roy when he was cast in the play To Kill a Mockingbird at the Pennsylvania Playhouse in Bethlehem. He played the pivotal role of Tom Robinson, a role he credits with helping him decide to leave the Lehigh Valley and return to his roots in New York City to pursue bigger acting opportunities. This conversation is filled with life lessons that even the most jaded will find uplifting and encouraging. Roy and I spoke about his life philosophy and how he uses his faith, drive, and unwavering ability to see beyond the obstacles that he may encounter to live in harmony with the opportunities that come his way. Roy and I also discussed the role he landed in a national spot for Nike and the WNBA. Roy shared his experiences with the casting process and a behind-the-scenes peek while filming his role as Mr. Earl. Roy will appear in the upcoming season of The Godfather of Harlem, which is entering its 4th season. Roy has had co-starring roles on Law & Order SVU, FBI Most Wanted. The show Awkwafina is Nora from Queens for Comedy Central, an episode of Murphy Brown with Candice Bergen, and dozens of local and regional ads and background work on Saturday Night Live. Roy and I yak it up on a bunch of interesting topics, including a story he shared about an encounter with an overly aggressive beat cop back in New York City when he was 19. He shares how he used that memory to call upon to help him get into character when he performed as the wrongly accused Tom Robinson in To Kill a Mockingbird. I saw Roy perform in that play, and it left an indelible mark on me. When Roy's not performing, he enjoys serving as an elementary school substitute teacher, primarily at schools in his native Harlem. George Eliot once said, "You're never too old to become who you might have been." Trust me, this episode deserves your time and attention because it's a perfect example of the interviews I like to participate in because Roy's story is worth celebrating. Here is my Ad Yack with Roy Shuler. Okay, good afternoon, Roy Shuler. How are you, man?
I'm blessed to be great, man. How are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing all right. I appreciate you coming on Ad Yack and talking with me. We got a lot to talk about.
Thanks for the invitation, man. Thanks for the invitation.
So here's where I want to start. I want to start where I read on your IMDb page that you got started in acting a little later than maybe most people, which I love. I love this because it is never too late to be who you might have been. George Eliot said that, and I live in that. I love it. So talk to me about that.
Absolutely.
How you kind of came into acting, decided to get into acting?
Well, I've always had an interest in voice acting. And ever since I was a kid, I had people tell me that I had a nice voice.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always sort of, ruminating on my mind.
Yep.
But it wasn't until it was 23 summers ago. As a matter of fact, I was telling a good friend of mine yesterday, it was 23 summers ago, I had a rather egregious incident with a company I used to work for. I won't name them, but they went out of business eventually. And man, they came at me so foul, Bill.
Yeah.
And they were basically looking for a reduction in the headcount. And it really annoyed me, man. And as a matter of fact, the flame from that experience still burns in me today. So that summer, I borrowed something from an episode of The Honeymooners, where there was a guy who came to Ralph and Alice's apartment, and he was a very successful businessman.
Okay.
And Ralph said, "Wait a minute, how did you become who you are when you lived in a dump like this?" And here's the point of that story. The guy said, "Well, I sat down and I took stock of myself. I listed my good points and my bad points." So that summer of 2001, I started listening to things that I thought, as a person of faith, God had gifted me to do, that if I pursued them, wouldn't necessarily feel like work. And I was always very passionate about being a polished public speaker. particularly since I grew up in a world where folks thought that being an articulate Black male was somehow an anomaly.
Right.
So that summer, I called up. I was living in Rockland County at the time, and I called up a talent agent. I said, "Look, I want to, get into voiceovers." They said, "Well, if you want to get into voiceovers, you should take acting lessons because it's acting with your voice.
Yep.
Why don't you come in and audit our acting class?" So I went in and I audited the class, and they gave me some sides or some copy, and they charged me with the responsibility of acting this out. I was hooked.
Oh.
And I said, this is one of the things I'm meant to do. So that's where it started. And then I went through a pretty difficult divorce. 4 years later, I was about to turn 40. And I said, you know what? This thing is still on my mind. I want to pursue it. And I was living in Pennsylvania by then. That's when, you and I met a couple of years, some years later. But I was living in Pennsylvania, and there was a guy, God bless him, he's since passed away. His name is Randy Donatelli. He ran an agency out in Reading, Pennsylvania.
I know the name.
Mickey still runs. Yeah. So I saw his ad in one of these Lehigh Valley free publications, and I hemmed and hawed for a while. And finally, I called him, and I made an appointment, and I went out to Reading. And Randy said, you're a decent-looking guy, you're a nice-looking guy. I think I can get some work for you. And he said, never give up. He said, things change on a dime in this business. Stay in contact with me. So I stayed in contact with Randy. I was working for Dun & Bradstreet at the time. And he called me up one Wednesday, September 19, 2007. And he said, what are you doing on Friday? I think I have a spot for you in a commercial. I'm not doing anything. It's just that, hold tight, I'll get back to you. So I ended up getting cast as a non-union background actor in a commercial for Coordinated Health. And I was playing someone who was undergoing therapy. So I was singing with my church choir at the time. I was a member of Greater Shallow Church. When I got the file and I sent it to the choir members, I said, don't blink, you'll miss me. So at the 14-second mark, I was laying down on a mat undergoing therapy. And at the 21-second mark, you saw my back to the camera running on the treadmill. So that was my first commercial. And at that point, somebody paid me to act. I'm an actor, right? Absolutely. So I met this guy on set. His name was Rich Johnson. I think he's still with a company called One Place Media, I believe.
Yeah.
And
very talented shooter. I know him. Yeah.
Yes. So I networked and spoke with Rich a bit on set. And he said, look, there's an agency on Broad Street in Bethlehem we work with, give her my name, call her, maybe you get some other things. That was Friday. Monday, I called they used to be Pro Model. They changed their name to Look Model, I believe.
Yeah, Look Model.
And the name of the owner escapes me. But I called her up. I eventually made an appointment, and she decided to represent me. So long way of saying, the start was that commercial, and then everything else that I've been blessed to do came from that seed, man. That that nondescript, non-union commercial for Coordinated Health. That's how it got started.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like this because what I'm hearing is, kind of like something. Well, that voiceover definitely kind of got you. What captivated you about the voice work? Like what was it? Like was it just the words that you're saying, or how you're saying them, or was it for the commercial? Was it how it was written?
No,
what was it that got
words? You? It was reflection. It was as a kid, it was almost like playing. You would see commercials or you would hear things on the radio, and I just thought that it was entertaining. And I'm also a fan. I'm a huge fan of singers. I'm a huge fan of vocalists. Sam Cooke and Frank Sinatra, and then everyone else, right? So I was always enchanted with their phrasing and their tonality, if you will, and just their ability to put a song or tell a story to music. So I think that was part of it as well. But the voiceover part was just, it was really just play. It was really just play. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that.
Thanks.
So I met you when my son got cast in To Kill a Mockingbird as Dill.
Yes.
and he was only 8 at the time. So I think
Right.
George Miller, the director, was comfortable with me sitting in on the rehearsals because Zane was a kid. I mean, he was like 8 years old. So,
Yes.
you know, for me to just drop him off and leave, you know, I think he was probably happy that I sat there. So I got to watch these rehearsals. And
Right.
what was pretty evident pretty quickly, literally right away, was this is going to be something special. Like this, it just felt, oh my God, like the people
Absolutely.
that George had assembled for that cast. You know, I knew some of them. I was like, oh, this is like
Right.
a who's who of like who in Lehigh Valley acting, right? So there's Zane, he gets cast, and then I start, obviously, you know, you as Tom Robinson and Atticus Finch, you know, you're the heart of the play, right? And I
Right.
remember
Right.
I remember Zane comes up to me one night before rehearsal. You guys are going to do the second act, and he says, it's so funny. He says to me, "Hey, I just want to let you know, it's going to get a little intense tonight." And I'm like, "Okay, what do you mean?" He's like, "You'll see, but just be ready. It's going to get intense." And he wasn't joking
Right.
because that was the courtroom
Right.
scene.
Yeah.
That is, you know,
Yeah.
that's and I mean, listen, it's a difficult play. It's a beautiful
Yes.
play. What you guys did was magnificent. So,
Thank you.
and I felt changed by the experience, and I wasn't even in it. I just was a
Right.
spectator. So, talk to
Yes.
me about what that play meant for you, because I know it meant a lot to you, and I know it meant working with George. And just talk to me a little bit about that experience of working with George Miller in To Kill a Mockingbird at the Pennsylvania Playhouse.
Well, with no hyperbole whatsoever, it was an experience that changed my life personally and professionally. I remember I had worked with George back in 2012. He had directed a play called Occupy Your Mind, based on the Occupy Wall Street movement. And I'm friends with somebody on Facebook, I can't recall who, but he had just come back from an audition for To Kill a Mockingbird. And he said that George was asking about me. So I think I had become Facebook friends with George by then. If not, I immediately did. And I reached out to him, you know, to ask him about if he was still casting, if he was still holding auditions for To Kill a Mockingbird. So when I got there, there were 2 things he asked me to read for. One was the Reverend, I forget the Reverend's name.
Yeah, Reverend Sykes.
And yes, thank you, Reverend Sykes. And the other was Tom Robinson. So I think I read for both. And George, a sweet guy, you know, miss him. And he said something along the lines of, well, we're still auditioning for, I guess, Sykes and Robinson. He said, do you have a problem playing either role? And I said, no, but you didn't ask me what my preference was. So he said, what's your preference? And I said, my preference is to play Tom Robinson. So he took it into consideration. And then sometime later, I learned that I was cast as Tom Robinson in that play. And it was just a magical experience, man, from the audition through that 9th performance, which I think was on June 15th of that year, 2014. It was literally something that changed me again, personally and professionally. It was just an awesome experience, man. It still means a lot to me.
Yeah, it was interesting watching because during the performances, you know, and this is a testament to the cast and you, I started to feel like I was in the courtroom in the South watching this and wanting to stop it. You know, like it gets in you. You know, it's a play that kind of demands your attention and demands that you kind of pay attention and listen to the words and watch what's happening and reflect on yourself. And I just remember having that experience and thinking like, my God, what these people are doing. And then Mary Badham, who was Scout in the film version of the movie, came to the opening night. How cool is that?
Well, she came to the second show, actually.
Oh, the second show? Okay.
She came to the second show. Yeah.
All right. Because that was, my God, like what a coup on that one. For I don't know how George managed that, but he got Mary Badham to come watch you guys do To Kill a Mockingbird, which obviously means a lot to her. You know, it's her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You speak to her at all?
I still have pictures. I just finished I just finished revamping my website, and
Mm-hmm.
I have a number of pictures from To Kill a Mockingbird in a gallery that's running on my website.
Mm.
And one of those pictures was a black and white with the cast sitting behind Mary. I think she was on a swing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I had the pleasure of meeting her because her husband, you may know, works for LTRIC,
Yep.
I believe.
Yeah.
In administration, and
Mm-hmm.
she lives in the Valley. So I had the pleasure of meeting her. Well, I was at LTRIC for something, and I had the pleasure of meeting her and reintroduced myself. And I was thankful that delighted that she had remembered me,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked a little bit. She gave me a compliment, man, at that second performance that still buoys me today.
Give it to me.
And at the end of the show, man, she just looked at me and she said, "You nailed it."
Oh, 100%.
And listen, man,
Mm-hmm.
coming from her, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 10 years later, and I still get like,
Yeah.
really charged about that, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was saying before that personally and professionally, that experience did so much for me, again, as a person and as an actor. And when she shared that, man, and then, just the kudos for the cast overall. And the ease with which we were able to bond and work with George and
Yeah.
move the audience was something, man, something special.
I got to see all of that. I watched it develop. I was there for almost all the rehearsals, pretty much,
Yeah.
and the performances, as many as I can. I want to know what it felt like for you. Was it hard to separate yourself from Tom? I guess what I'm getting at is, there's a lot of people yelling at you in this thing. How do you not let that in, or do you let it in for the performance? Because
You do.
Mhm.
You let it in, and I've learned that over time. That was an intrinsic experience in my development as an actor, because it allowed me to be very vulnerable.
Mm. Mm.
And I'll share this with you, man. So I became Tom Robinson throughout that performance because I know what it's like to be a Black man living in America accused of doing something you did not do.
Mm.
And I'll share this with you quickly.
Yeah.
In order to get there each night, I thought about something that happened to me when I was maybe 19 years old. I was a freshman at St. John's University. I was working at New York Hospital down on 70th and York Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
When both of my parents, who were both deceased, they worked there. The whole family worked there at one point, right?
Okay.
My sister and younger brother, my older sister and younger brother included. And I was on a payphone one night. I think it was on the corner of 68th and First Avenue. And unfortunately, Bill, this payphone was behind a park where guys who looked like me used to sell drugs.
Mm.
And they would use that phone to conduct business. So my friend, the late Alfred Dreers, we worked together. Alfred was waiting for me as I was talking on the phone to my girlfriend at the time. And I turned around and I saw an officer talking to Alfred. So Alfred pointed to me, he said, "I'm with him. I'm with Roy, he's on the phone."
Mm-hmm.
So this officer, who happened to be a white officer, came over to me and he said, "If I catch you using this phone again, I'm going to arrest you." And I'm trying to make sense of this. And then my girlfriend's on the phone asking what's going on because she hears something in the background. So the officer turns around, and there's a point to this as I close. He turns around, and I guess I wasn't getting off the phone quickly enough. So now he comes back, pounding his baton in his hand.
Oh.
And he said, "I said, get off the phone." Now, here I am, Bill. I'm 19 years old. I'm a sophomore at St. John's University. I'm coming from work. But just because I look like the guys that you see using this phone selling drugs, the officer automatically assumed that I must be a drug dealer. That pissed me off so much that I won't even go into the feelings I had that night and what I wished upon him.
Yeah.
But the point of sharing that is that I pulled that experience forward. So that I could be authentic and representing what it felt like to be a Black man accused of doing something he did not do. And each time that I tapped into that during rehearsal, and each time I tapped into it during our 9 performances, the tears just flew. And to your point about like trying to fight it, there was no point in fighting it because that was an authentic emotion that lent itself to how Tom Robinson must have felt. So that was the backstory. And I remember my dear friend Kathy Patterson, she was asking and wondering like what it took to get me there every night. So to this audience, that's what it took.
Wow.
I think the term, as I close on this, may be referred to as effective memory. And there are various opinions as to whether how effective that is on one's psyche in doing that. But that's what worked for me.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
That's what worked for me.
Well,
yeah,
I didn't know that story, obviously, but watching and knowing how you infused what you infused in that performance, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense because I could see it. I could see it on your face. Like I was like genuinely concerned, but I mean, I knew you were acting, but like almost like to a point where like it crossed over from acting into something else, which is what I think that play was all about. It demands your attention.
It was.
Right?
Yeah.
You were fantastic, man. You were fantastic.
It was a magical experience, man.
I found out years later, actually, that what had happened was the reason that Zane was cast last was because they had Dill cast. It was going to be Oaks Fagley. You know who Oaks Fagley is, right? The Allentown young man who was in Pete's Dragon. He got cast.
No, I don't know that name. I don't know that name. No.
He got cast to go be in Boardwalk Empire. It was shooting in Brooklyn. It was season 3 or something. He was playing Nucky Johnson's brother, Eli, as a little kid. There was a whole backstory. Oaks got cast in that. Pat, who played Atticus, saw Zane at an event and was just like, "What are you guys doing? What are you up to?" I was there. And he's like, "Oh, nothing." He's like, "Hey, you want to be in a play?" Because all Zane had done was Christmas Carol, Scrooge at 6. That was it. And Pat saw him in that, and he went down and Zane did a reading and he got it. And we got home and we're looking at the script, and I said, "This is a lot of lines. Like this is a lot of lines." So part of me at the rehearsal was a little wondering, like, can Zane pull this off? Can he do this? And he did. He did. He never flubbed a line. He never missed a mark, and he never flubbed a line. And he was always
in a resounding way, man. He did an awesome job.
He had impressions of all of you, and like even did them in front of you. It was like
I remember. I remember.
All right, so I could talk about To Kill a Mockingbird all day, but so we're gonna move on. So that obviously profound experience. Thank you for sharing that story, by the way, to give me the context of that, because that really does make sense to me now, because I felt like what I was watching was like something like otherworldly, and now I know what you were doing as far as inspiration. So okay, you do To Kill a Mockingbird. You're living in Pennsylvania, but then you kind of you relocate where you were from. You go back to Harlem, right, to kind of really put a focus on the acting, right? So what did you do after To Kill a Mockingbird?
After To Kill a Mockingbird, let's see. That was in 2014. My mother passed later that year, Christmas Day, as a matter of fact. My father had passed away in 2004, and my mother passed away Christmas Day 2014. And then I was working for a company. That job came to an end almost a month later. And I was still interested in acting. And I was submitting myself to do background work in New York. So I submitted for a show called Forever that used to be on ABC. I get selected, and it was a scene where they wanted the women wearing gowns and the guys wearing tuxedos. We were at some fancy art gallery, whatever.
Sure.
Long story short, I'm in holding, and a PA comes over to me, says, "Have you ever done stand-in work?" I said, "No, but I'm willing to learn." He said, hang around, we're going to go over his set, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, man, by the end of the night, I get pulled out of non-union holding, and I get selected to be the body double and stand-in for Oscar winner Cuba Gooding Jr., who was doing a 3-episode appearance on the show that I knew nothing about. So my thinking is, I'm driving into the city I was living in Allentown at the time, and Allentown or Bethlehem, I forget. And I said, I'm going to drive into the city. I'll drive back home that night. No, I had to be back on set the next day. And the next day, I'm showing Cuba where to stand. He's like, hey, I'm Cube. Nice to meet you. So that made me eligible to join SAG-AFTRA.
Which is the union, the actors union.
Which is a union, right. I didn't join until another 5 years later. But after The Killing Mockingbird, I did a bunch of background work in New York. I did more theater. I worked with Arab Barley and another inspiring play called The Fall of Heaven. With William Alexander and a few other folks. I played Joshua Angel. We were like the 2 leads in that play. Okay. Which was a fantastic experience. Arab Barley and Crowded Kitchen players. I did another play. I'm going to mess up her last name. It's a Greek last name, and I don't want to butcher it, but her name is Katina. And she did a production of American Buffalo, which was very challenging. I played Donnie Dubrow.
David Mamet.
And yeah, we did that. I think we did that in 2017. And then also in 2017, I did more theater with Bathsheba Monk. There were 2 plays. One was called The Son He Always Wanted, and I forget the name of the other play. But I had the pleasure of meeting a very sweet lady who became a mentor and still is a mentor of mine, Lenny Godfrey.
Oh, okay.
And she directed those plays. We performed someplace in Bethlehem. I think it was Banana Factory. I'm not sure. But that was another experience that really bolstered my confidence. So toward the end of 2017, I started thinking, you know what? In order for me to get to the next level, I need to have representation in New York. I already had representation in the Valley. Yep. My longest standing relationship was with Reinhardt in Philadelphia, a fantastic agency. But I wanted to get representation in New York. So I submitted to an agent, and much to my surprise and delight, they said, come in and meet with them. Came into the city, March of 2018, met with them. I thought the meeting went well. I followed up, and they said, we decided to pass on you. What happened? Wow. I thought everything went well. Is it my look, experience? They said, no, when we presented it to the team, we had some concerns about you being able to make it to New York from Allentown. Oh. I said, okay, so it's location. Anything else? So I started thinking, maybe it's time to move back to New York. This was mid-March of 2018. By July 1st, I was here. Back in my native Harlem. Literally a 5 to 7 minute block from the projects in which I grew up. And thankfully, this was a move of faith, man. A good friend of mine, I was in Allentown for a business meeting yesterday, and a good friend of mine said to me, he said, man, I didn't tell you then, but man, I thought you were crazy. He said, I didn't think you were crazy, but it's like, man, this dude, I don't know what he's doing. He's making a big mistake, blah, 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 blah. But it was a faith-based move, man. Okay. And God has honored it. God has honored the faith.
Well, how did he feel about that when he saw you in the national night commercial for the WNBA? Did he have any comments about that?
Everybody that was coming into his office yesterday, he was telling them, this is, he's in a night commercial. He was on FBI Most Wanted. He was on Law and Order. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he was basically talking like a proud dad,
Mr. Earl.
I'm sorry, the table shaking again. He was basically talking like a proud dad. Right, and let me just stop there for a second, man. There are times where we will wait for the ratification of others. We will wait for the validation of others before stepping forward versus our own intuition, our own gut. Yep. Our own sense of faith, our own belief, our own aspirations. And there can be a relative danger in doing that because you assign so much power to that which is external to you in the way of validation. I have my own brother whom I love, man. My brother's a year and a half younger than me. He said to me in a conversation a couple of times, He said, man, there were times I was wondering, what is he doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there are
Sure.
times, man, when we're following our aspirations, we're following our gut, our intuition, where it's not going to make sense to other people.
No.
But we cannot allow that in and of itself to deter us from pursuing what we believe is a part of our essence or a part of our destiny. And then in doing so, I believe that we have the ability to inspire other people to do similar things. So
Listen, it's why you're here.
yeah,
You
yeah.
inspire me,
So
man. You do. I watch
well,
you. I
thank you,
see what
man.
you're doing. I'm like, I'm like, when you start your fan club, I'm going to be the president of it. I'm just like, I'm on the sidelines cheering you on, man. I'm just like,
Well, thanks.
go
Thank
Roy.
you. I appreciate it, man.
I mean, I
I
saw you
appreciate
do
it, man.
that.
Thank you very much.
That one commercial you did, I think, or no, it might not have been a commercial. It was like an interstitial or something for HBO where you were the barber.
Man,
That
man.
looked like fun. That looked like a fun shoot, man.
Let me tell you something, man, very quickly. The casting director for that spot was a lady named Liz Lewis, who's very well known here in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember getting the breakdown, and they wanted an old school barber with charm who was arguing about like his favorite sporting event, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And folks don't like me for saying this, but I'm an anti-Knick fan. I used to be a Knick fan back in the day, back in the Bernard King days, all that stuff. So anyway, man, I just went for it. I just went for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll even share I still have a copy of the actual audition. And I just, there's something about Bill just remaining in the moment and being true to the character, flaws and all. So that audition I taped right here using this accent wall as my screen or whatever, as my backdrop. And the audition was like maybe 2.5 minutes long. And I was thinking, you know what? It's too long. I should edit it. I said, you know what?
Let them see it.
This is me.
Let them see it.
This is my interpretation of it. So I just sent it off, and I ended up getting cast. So filming with Bomani Jones was cool, who lives not far from me. And I ran into him one time after we did the spot.
Oh, really?
And he said, I saw you in the Colonial Pink commercial. Yeah, he lives not far from here, man. So I ran into him a couple of times, but that was a lot of fun to do. It was a fun audition, and it was a fun shoot too. Yeah.
Well, I think that's interesting. I think that's one of the things I notice about you is that, and you need to be this way. You really commit. Like you fully commit when you do something. You know what I mean? I don't see any phoning it in coming from Roy Shuler. I see it's like, I'm all in. Whether you're that. So talk to me about that WNBA commercial, because I saw that and I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. This is fun.
Okay.
Look, I work in advertising, right? I did it for 40 years. And so much of it is, it's just kind of whatever. It's fun. It's almost like a category I would call advertainment. It's advertising, but it's entertaining.
Yes.
And guess what? When you do that, it's memorable. You remember it, and then you talk about it like I'm doing now, because I remember it and I tell everybody about it. Like, you got to see this commercial. This guy, Roy Shuler, he's like, watch this. Like they caught lightning in a bottle with the WNBA. And so anyway, you were fantastic in that. So just tell me a little bit about what that was like.
First and foremost, all praise to God by his amazing grace. But let me give you the quick story, man. So I freelanced with a few agents here in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the audition from one of my agents, and it just says in the breakdown, major sports brand. But there's also an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, that you have to sign to audition. I'm like, okay. So I see the name of the agency associated with the NDA. I'm going to back up and find out who they are and what they've done.
Oh.
So it turns out Wyden plus Kennedy, the ad agency out in the Pacific Northwest, they're the ones who came up with Just Do It for Nike back in '88.
I know.
And as a result, according to the Wikipedia page, Nike's market share took off. So I'd say, so this is a Nike commercial.
Yep.
But let me stop there. And I thank you for sharing what it is you shared, Bill. And I'm a strong proponent of the fact that if you strive to operate along the lines of excellence, regardless of what you do, there's a quote that's assigned to a guy, I believe his name is Will Durant. It was erroneously assigned to Aristotle for a number of years. And he said, we are what we repeatedly do. He said, so excellence is not an act, it's a habit. I'm just paraphrasing, right? So my point in sharing that is if you subscribe to abiding by excellence across the board, then theoretically, when an opportunity as huge as a Nike comes along, you shouldn't feel as though there's a significant step up between where you normally operate and where you feel like you have to be.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying it's not a step up, but I'm saying it should not be a huge step up. So I realized this is a Nike ad, okay?
Yep.
And I have fun with the audition. I submit it. They come back and say, okay, we want to see it with a bit of a comedic slant. So I look at the sides again. I look at the copy. I look for the opportunities where there could be some humor, and I resubmit it with some comedy in it. I then have a virtual callback, and this is happening very quickly.
Yeah. Sure.
I get a virtual callback. When I'm not performing, I serve as a substitute teacher here in Harlem. So I think I took that day off to make sure that I was available for the virtual audition.
Okay.
And as I'm waiting to get inside the virtual room, the lady who was allowing people in said, okay, I need to hear everyone say their lines right out here, because people are going into that virtual room and they're not knowing the lines.
Oh.
So, yeah. So something can happen when that light goes off, no doubt. But in that, I saw an opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So I made sure I was ready. I went into the virtual room. I did it. And I can be a bit hard on myself sometimes. You know, you come back saying, I could have done this, could have done that, but it was done. I thought I did fine. Later that night, I get an availability check. So I'm moving along, I'm moving up the chain. And then I think 2 nights later, at about 10 o'clock at night, I think it was a Thursday, I get an email saying I'm booked. And now my agent's like, okay, we need this, we need that, because they flew me down to Charleston.
Oh, okay.
For that, to film the commercials. So we need your license, we need this, we need that, very quickly. We need you to sign another NDA, blah, blah, blah. Things are moving fast. So this was Thursday. Tuesday, I'm on a plane. Tuesday morning, I'm on a plane to go to Charleston. I get to Charleston for the fitting, which is fantastic. I go to set the following day, Wednesday. I meet the brilliant director, David Gordon Green, who directs episodes of Righteous Gems on HBO.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I see the storyboard, Bill.
Yeah.
And I see for the first time that this commercial is being told from my character's perspective. And I'm like, for real? Like, this is my show. I'm serious. I'm like, for real?
Yeah,
like,
this is
my show. And and between that and the comfort, the very quick comfort with which I established with the director, folks from Nike were there, folks from Wyden and Kennedy were there. You know, this was a big to do, relatively speaking.
Huge.
So, but I knew that I had the freedom to just be. And I had the freedom to just basically act it. I'll close with this. David did something, man, that was really special. So we're sitting down talking, getting to know each other. We're 10 years apart. You know, he's born in 75, I'm born in 65. And I shared with him that another pivotal moment in my love for words was when Stevie Wonder released his magnum opus, Songs in the Key of Life, in 76. I was 10 or 11 years old when it came out. And there was a point, Bill, where I knew the lyrics to all those songs. I mean, Sir Duke, I Wish, Knocks Me Off My Feet, Pastime Paradise, all those songs. And it really propelled my love for the power of words and storytelling. Within minutes, what do I hear?
Oh, God, really? Wow.
David's playing music from Songs in the Key of Life because he wanted a certain energy in the place. I'm like,
that's
you're right, dude.
Unbelievable. That's crazy. Wow. That's awesome.
So, man, I was on set all day, and they filmed pieces of other commercials that day.
Oh,
but I was on set all day, and we had a ball. I would love to see. Excuse me.
oh,
I would love to see the B-roll
outtakes.
stuff that didn't make the commercial, man. I mean, there was a point where he was asking me like to sing some of the copy and sing and dance, and it was just it was a lot of fun.
Well done. I loved it.
I'll close with this. The lady whose name escapes me, who actually wrote I mean, there were people, man, all praise to God, Bill. There were, during downtime, there were people from Nike and people from Wieden and Kennedy who made a point of coming over to me to let me know how pleased they were with what I was doing with the character, including the person who wrote the copy. So it was awesome, man.
Well, I want to pull on this thread a little bit. So obviously this one worked out. How do you handle, what's your process for handling rejection? How do you handle, because with acting, it's a lot of rejection. You got to get comfortable with that, right? What's your, give me something for a coping mechanism. If you hadn't gotten this spot, like what do you just immediately dismiss it? What do you do? Or do you overanalyze it? Do you analyze like, what could I have done? Like, give me something. I need some help around this, because I really struggle with this in my life.
I've gotten to the point, the great Bryan Cranston, who's an actor.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of affirmations. I read a bunch of articles, man, especially from actingmagazine.com. And Bryan Cranston says, you don't audition to get the job. You audition to show your interpretation of who this character is. You prepare, you play, and then you leave it alone. And then you go on about your business. Constance Wu says it's important to detach yourself from the result and to make sure, and I'm paraphrasing, that you're directing all of your energy into the moment, so you can pour all of your energy into your interpretation of that character without concerned about how people are going to perceive you. You do your prep work, you remain in the moment. Yep. Michael Keaton talked about, he said, I'm going to answer you, and this is an answer to your question. Michael Keaton said, he used to think about auditions, I got to go get the job. He said, you know what? Nah, I'm thinking about this wrong. He said, I got the audition, I already got the job. I'm going to work. So
there you go.
I'm just going to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to work. And he said,
it takes the energy out of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So he said, even though there was some things that he really, really wanted, it's just about going to work. So to me, Bill, words are important. I don't necessarily look, if I had an opportunity to work that day, like I had an audition I had to get done today.
Yep.
I got it yesterday. It was originally due on Sunday. I get an email last night, oh, they needed by end of business today. So I got it done today. I got up this morning at 3-something, had a Red Bull, scrambled a couple of eggs, worked on the scene, found the reader, did the Zoom thing, edited, boom, it's done. My manager loved it. So I don't necessarily look at it as rejection. If I had an opportunity to work, if whatever it is I presented is not for this particular forum, it doesn't change that I have the ability to work and play that day. So now I know some may view this as very theoretical and sort of pie in the sky, especially if you've had the blessing to book some things. But I truly believe that in adopting that philosophy, that the booking will come. And I tell you this, as I close on it, man, when I changed my mindset to incorporate the 3 things that I shared about what Michael Keaton said, what Constance Wu said, what Bryan Cranston said, I started to see a different end result, because I was not going into the room trying to satisfy what people on the other side may not even know they want. So there's a freedom in just being able to play and to bring my work to this form and to really enjoy it and let the chips fall where they may. I don't say that dismissively. I don't say it arrogantly.
No, I don't think you do. Right.
But no, just to let the chips fall where they may, man. So I look at it differently.
I love that. I'm gonna do some rapid fire type questions. Who are your 3 acting influences? What three actors do you admire? Who admire
Yeah,
their work?
listen, man, I'm going to go with vocalists first
Okay.
because to me, they were the most brilliant interpreter of words I've ever heard.
Okay.
Sam Cooke
Yep.
and Frank Sinatra. And
Okay.
they're also acting influences. And Sam was getting into acting, unfortunately, at the time of his early death, almost 60 years ago this December, he was starting to get into acting. But
Oh,
those
I didn't know
guys, man, were brilliant interpreters of words and phrasing and telling stories in about 2 minutes, 45 seconds, the singles back then.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of Michael J. Fox. I'm a big fan of Denzel, of course, Delroy Lindo, Jeffrey Wright. I'm influenced a lot by singers and vocalists too, man.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
How about
Thank you.
How about a piece of advice you received that you carry with you?
Randy Donatelli said to me back in 2005, he said, never give up. He said, things change on a dime in this business. And he encouraged me to stay in contact with him. But, those three words, don't never give up. Listen, man, I was 42 when I booked my first commercial.
Yep.
I was 58 when I became Mr. Earl. I mean, it didn't air until I was 59. But I was 58 when I was filming the biggest commercial of my life. I mean, this thing has been viewed 7.5 million times on Nike's IG page.
That's the kind of spot that wins awards too, by the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'll hit the award circuit. It just cuts through. It's funny. It's entertaining. You're tapping into something that everyone's thinking about right now with the attendance going through the roof at the WNBA. It's perfect. And I guarantee you, Whedon and Kennedy moved real fast to make that happen. That spot. You know what I mean? Because to get all those people and get that, they had to move fast. So that's awesome. I just think that I think you understand really well, like what you're trying to do. And I think that goes a long way. You have the right mindset. You commit to what you're doing.
Thank you, man.
You do the research. And if somebody tells you, listen, we need your tape tonight, you get it to them tonight because that's the game. That's how the game is played. You can complain about it and be like, come on, man, I got a life here. My kid's football game. That's not what they don't care about that. You want to be in their commercial or you want to be in their show. You follow you jump through their hoops. But I think you have the right mindset about how you're going about it, which is going to help you continue with your success. So, all right, let me see. What else can I ask you here? How do you think the 8-year-old version of Roy would feel about what the 59-year-old version is doing these days?
Let me see. I was 8 in 73. I was an old soul back then because I was listening to Johnny Taylor. I think there's something about speaking to the inner child that lives on the inside of each of us,
100%.
So having that ability to just play and be and not feel confined by artificial, self-created or self-imposed barriers that tell us how we should behave at 59 or whatever.
Right.
I think the courage and the boldness to color outside the lines, if you will, and you can speak to this, from a creativity standpoint.
Absolutely.
That courage and boldness to color outside of the lines. I think the 8-year-old me would celebrate.
Absolutely.
Would celebrate. Yeah.
So what's next for you? Where do you see yourself in 3 years? Where do you hope to see yourself in 3 years?
I'm going to answer that second. I'm filming an episode of Godfather of Harlem. I had an audition about 3 weeks. I had an audition about 3 weeks ago, and I booked the role about 2 weeks ago. And as of now, we're scheduled to shoot on Monday.
Oh,
so I've got to reread the script this weekend. Wait for the call sheet to confirm that we're actually filming on Monday. So I want to make sure that I get ready for that. But this sounds a bit nebulous, Bill. I don't have the the typical landing point as far as where I'd like to be in 3 years.
Okay.
My thinking is like this. I want to be able to operate in faith, and I want to be able to operate in accordance with God's grace, and I want to be able to operate along the lines of excellence and to take advantage of whatever opportunities that affords me. Okay. So it's not something as defined as saying in 3 years,
right,
I want to be in a Hollywood feature film, or 3 years, I want to be a series regular. I want to be in a position of whatever my drive and my faith and my commitment to excellence affords me. So if that's a Hollywood feature film, if it's Broadway, if it's more national commercials, if it's a series regular or recurrent, whatever that is, you know, and it's not being evasive, it's not being nebulous. I just don't want to narrow it down and then to feel as though once that's attained, like there isn't something else to kind of chase. Now, I've long aspired to do national commercials.
okay,
But there's still more that I want to do. So as much as a relative landing point that may have been, it's not definitive in that, oh well, I've achieved that. Now, you know, everything else is
right.
downhill
That's really interesting.
or plateaued. You know, I want to continue to avail myself to whatever a commitment to faith and a commitment to hard work and a commitment to excellence and building relationships affords me. You know, that's what I want, man.
That right there, that's hitting me hard right now. That's hitting me really hard, because what I do the opposite. I attach too many expectations to things.
Okay.
My expectations of how I think it should go, which is like right there, you're in danger already, right?
Right.
And then when the things maybe don't go the way I think they should go, I get jammed up. That is really profound, my friend. I think you might have just given me like a new outlook on, because that just resonates with me. I love that. Wow.
Well, thank you, man.
No, thank
yeah,
you.
and it's
That's
something
I'm changing my approach, and that's how I'm going to do it.
Wow.
I got to.
It's something that I share with my, you know, I have 3 adult children, you know, 2 daughters and a son and a 12-year-old granddaughter. And I hope to share, you know, that mindset with them as well. It's like, I love riding my bike, something else that speaks to my inner child, man. I live 9 blocks north of Central Park. And I love riding in Central Park around the reservoir. It's about 6.2 miles.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm competitive with myself, right? So there are times I'm like, okay, I want to average 15 miles an hour today. I want to make sure I do a minimum of 13.5. But I don't want to do it at the expense of enjoying the ride.
There it is.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to do it. And I don't want to have to kill myself so I can say, yay, 15.3. Now, if I get to 15.3, which I was blessed to do the other day, and I really enjoyed the ride, that's a good marriage. But if I had to do something where there's a point of diminishing returns to get to that, then you know, I don't know about that trade-off. I don't know about that trade-off, man. I'm just so thankful of embracing the importance of the journey, you know, warts and all, because it wasn't easy to get to this point, you know.
And I think
but it was doable.
I think you've just described really like a recipe for success.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, if that, I mean, think about what you know, not a lot of us, myself included, I get, I want to feel like I can look at things like that, but I don't always live into it the way that I should. I tend to, I'll maybe say like this time I'm not going to get jammed up if I don't get this freelance job, or if I don't get, you know, if I don't like the design. And then the changes come in and I read them and I'm just like, oh my God, what are they doing? And it's like, I'm living outside of that, what I said I would do, you know? So but I think the way you described it, Roy, I feel like I can live into that. I can achieve that. That's achievable. If you, it's just a matter of you got to change that mindset. You have to change your lens. You have to stop looking through the lens of expectations and look through the lens of just being grateful for the opportunity, whether it goes my way or it doesn't. Yeah.
I mean, listen, man. I mean, the
There it
audition
is.
I had today, I had fun doing it. The casting director, who's the middle person between the client and the talent, is someone of note. So it'd be wonderful to book it, but I'm confident that I set my best foot forward in this audition that may avail other opportunities, if not this one. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So it's not always
Sure.
about booking that role. I mean, folks have a phrase, you know, book the room, whatever. Okay. I'm looking to demonstrate my drive, my professionalism, my talent, if you will, so that if I'm not considered, if I'm not the person chosen for this one, that maybe something else will become of this. It could be a week, it could be a year, it could be, you know, I auditioned for Godfather of Harlem several times.
Is this with Forrest Whitaker? Is that
Forrest Whitaker? Yeah, it's with Forrest Whitaker.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Epics. They're going into season 4. So I auditioned a few times, and I've gotten out of that mindset of thinking, if I don't get it, that there's something wrong with me.
Right. Because there's not. I wanted to mention too, I know you were on SNL, you did some work there, Murphy Brown. Am I correct? Is it Law and Order? Was it Law and Order that I saw you on?
Law and Order was last year, man. And
Dermot Mulroney. Yeah.
Man, Ice-T and Marisha could not have been nicer. They could not have been more welcome, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
I'm sitting talking to Ice-T like we're boys.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just so
like
funny.
Like we're boys, man.
Even with that role, like just watching you come down the steps, and this is like nerd stuff because I nerd out on like acting and stuff.
That was FBI Most Wanted. Yeah.
Oh, FBI Most Wanted. Okay. When you came down those steps, I was like, I watched that and I was like, you're conveying authority just walking down a set of steps. That's pretty cool. That's what I like. So
well, thank you, man.
Like I just thought, man, and the way he shook his hand, and then you went into that room, and then you kind of rallied the people, and just that's what I saw, the clip that you posted. And I just thought, Roy's getting it done, doing his thing. Like to see it.
Well, thank you, man. Praise the Lord, man. You know what? Part of it to me, Bill, that I have to share is that, and this is not arrogance, this is not overconfidence, but listen, you get selected, you get cast after an audition, and there can be a lot of cognitive dissonance, if you will. And even, you know, the great Viola Davis talked about imposter syndrome. Here's an EGOT winner, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony, you know, voted one of the most influential people in the world. I was reading her Wikipedia page the other day. Yeah. And she talked about, even at that level, dealing with imposter syndrome. But I say that to say this. Listen, man, I go to a set, I belong. I'm not trying to ingratiate myself. No, I was cast, I was hired, I belong here. And I didn't feel that way when I got my first network co-star back in 2020. We had to wait until 2021 to film it because of the pandemic. It was on Raising Kanan. But in time, no, man. My mindset is, listen, I was cast, I was selected, I belong here. Let's work. Let's go. I have full respect for the series regulars and everybody on set.
Yep.
But I was asked to be here, and I'm going to be here. It's that simple, man.
It's beautiful.
It's that simple.
I love it.
That simple, man.
Roy, I have to tell you, I think we've reached the end, and you were amazing, like I knew you would be. Such good stuff, man.
Well, thank you, man. Praise the Lord, man. Praise the Lord, man. I'm very, very thankful for this forum. I thank you for the invitation, and I'm thankful for the journey, man.
Yeah. I love when
the journey.
I love watching good people succeed.
Well, thank you, man.
And I think you're I think you're amazing. I'm all in on your journey. I'm going to be watching it. And you know, you said you updated your website. What is your web address for? Just say it. What is it?
It's my name. I'm going to spell it out because my last name is commonly misspelled, and it's a real pet peeve of mine. People will look at my license and misspell my name. I'm like, come on, pay attention.
There's no
And it's
C
not
in there.
and it's
No
not
C.
misspelled. No C, right? No, and it's not misspelled on my license. So it's RoyShuler.com. It's RoyShuler.com. My good
Perfect.
friend Brent Whiting, we just revamped it, so it's up now. I'm making a few cosmetic changes, but I'm really happy with the way it looks right now. So it's RoyShuler.com. I've got some nice behind the scenes gallery pictures from over the years, some stuff from SNL, Law and Order, FBI.
Your Murphy Brown
To Kill a
appearance was pretty funny too.
Mockingbird.
Your
Yeah,
Murphy Brown, that was
that
pretty good. I enjoyed that.
was funny. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, man.
So
Thank you.
listen, man, just keep doing your thing. It's inspiring for me as someone who is trying to also, with my book that I just released on creativity and
Yes.
trying to get some
Yeah.
things going there. Sometimes it can just feel like you're all in it alone. Like nobody gets what you're trying to do, right? Like what you just Randy Donatelli, never give up. Don't give up.
Right.
Even people who when you were doing your thing are going, what is he doing? Like now they know what you're doing. Right?
Yeah.
So,
I'll offer this. I know we're wrapping up, but I'll offer this, and I offered it when I'm talking with my good friend yesterday. Stephen Covey had a phrase where he said, it's easy to say no when there's a deeper yes burning in the inside.
mm.
And everyone isn't going to always have access to what the root of that deeper yes is. But I'm just a strong proponent, man, of being true to ourselves. We do our due diligence, our assessment, our analysis, and then we go. I would rather have come here back to Harlem and fallen flat on my face than to be at 2010 Pinehurst Court, apartment L in Allentown, wondering, damn, what could have been? What if I wonder if I,
you don't want that.
No.
Nobody wants that. I agree with you. I agree. It's better that you and like Jim Carrey says, if you're going to fail at something, you might as well fail at something you love doing. Because more than likely, you're not going to fail because you love what you're doing. Right. It's like, it's the weird thing. So Roy, be well, take care. Yeah. You're awesome. I love you, brother. And
thank you, man.
Let's keep the dialogue going, and I'm watching for you. I'm watching out for you, man.
Well, I'll do the same. And I still have to order your book, man. I told you that I would. And I got a number of books to get through this summer. I want to make sure that I add yours to my list, man.
That's awesome. All right. This was awesome. Thank you for doing this. Be well. Have a good rest of your summer.
Hey, thanks. You too, man. And maybe I'll see you at Music Fest.
You might actually. I'm going to be doing an event with them in Arts Quest. It's coming up. They didn't even start promoting it yet, but that'll be fun. So maybe I'll run into you.
Yeah, maybe I'll skate down for a day or two, man.
Yeah.
You too, man.
Take care.
All right, Ad Yackers. Hope you enjoyed it. Because we have many more great conversations planned and guests lined up ready to yak it up. Ad Yack is sponsored and produced by ASR Media. Theme song was written and performed by Dan Ross. Ad Yack is the official podcast of the AAF Greater Lehigh Valley Ad Club. Stay hungry, stay humble. Till next time.
This episode of Ad Yack is rated O for, oh man, that was good.